Reign of Kings shaped up to be the next iteration in the survival game boom. A survival like Rust, yet thrust into a medieval era, with kings, soldiers, castles, and most importantly, those trebuchets. But as time passed by, the game started to leak players. Slowly but surely, it started to die. But why did this all happen? Let's look at the company behind Reign of Kings though. It was created by Codehatch, releasing the game on the 16th of December 2015 after some long-running betas and alpha phases. This was the peak of survival games, with the likes of Ark, Rust, Space Engineers, Stranded Deep, Minecraft, and so many more. It was the craze back then, and Reign of Kings entered into the fray promising an in-depth building system with directional combat similar to that of Mount & Blade, a faction and kingdom system where you could create clans, choose flags, and fight alongside your group wearing the same tabard over your armor to show which side you're on. A person was able to make themselves king, taking the crown and ancient sword. They were able to tax people on the resources. However, overtaxation could cause revolt. This could cause siege combat using trebuchets to launch projectiles into enemy walls and make breaches to charge in through. If you captured those kings, you could imprison them and kill them in many ways. It was overall an amazing system, and it created so many role-playing servers. It did this so well, and the devs at the beginning would actively be talking to the community with regular updates, and everybody was so positive about this game. But as time went on, this started to slow down. The dev communication was less and less, and then it was nothing. So what happened? This was not the company's first game. Codehatch started with Starforge, which I could make a full video on itself due to the large amount of drama surrounding it. In short, they abandoned that game and then moved on to Reign of Kings. There was also Heat after Reign of Kings. Yep, that's their most recent game. Heat was a borderline reskin of Reign of Kings, but instead of knights in armor, it's cowboys with rifles. However, this game did seem a lot more promising. The graphics were updated and built from the ground up. It had seasons within it, making the world update in real time as seasons change, meaning that you could grow crops at certain times so that you have to change with the dynamic nature of the world. But they've also abandoned that game as well. The last update of Heat came in June of 2021. It doesn't look good for Codehatch. So, having seen the past of the company, is it a real surprise that Reign of Kings failed? It's almost like they come up with great ideas, make it just out of reach of its original potential, and then come up with a new idea and abandon the previous one. Because of this, the company has made 3 games in all, and every single one of them has been pretty much abandoned. Each had its own drama surrounding it, causing more and more problems, and the lack of loyalty from its community as they keep screwing their players over. Reign of Kings could have been great. It could have been up there with the likes of Rust, Ark, and Minecraft, but instead it has become a forgotten relic of the early access game era. And it is part of that group of games that gave early access the reputation that it has today. I could easily say that the game just failed due to greed of developers, but I don't really think that's the case. I think there's maybe a lack of inexperience and maybe a lack of passion. The game itself was pretty solid. It had a few problems, such as performance being the main issue, but that's not really why it started to drop off. I think enough dedication and updates to the game, patches and optimization, it could have easily become much larger than it was. They could have added more armor, mounts, horses or ships, more weapons and siege equipment, and although time consuming, it could have easily happened. There was also a massive hacking problem within the game. For a relatively small studio like Codehatch, after the massive blow-up with peaks of 14,000 concurrent players, keeping people interested was always going to be a massive task, but they didn't stick with development. But what actually made it blow up this way? I mean, for starters, don't get me wrong, despite this video and despite its eventual downfall, Reign of Kings was actually a really good game, at least its base level at the beginning. Yes, it had all these issues, don't get me wrong, but an open world, survival, crafting, warring medieval game is something that there's a massive market for. I've already spoken about Ruin in one video, the Rust developers' attempt to doing a similar thing, and once again, people were still hyped up for that. More into the modern day, we have Renown coming into the future, a game trying to do the same thing of Reign of Kings and Ruin, but of course more successfully. But you get my point. People like this kind of thing. They want this kind of game. And Reign of Kings, when it came to on the surface execution, it was done pretty well. What's more, it was perfect for attracting YouTubers to start clans and cities with their followers, to go to war with others. People like Syndicate, Mr. Moon and frankieonPC flocked to the game, streaming and making massive viral videos on this title. Big names that promoted Reign of Kings more and more, blowing up the player base. That interaction between subscribers and YouTubers was key back in the day, and the reason for many multiplayer games having success. Yet the developers just didn't seem to have the same drive to keep going. The drive to continue to finish Reign of Kings. Could it be a lack of experience, or could it be budgetary constraints? I guess we'll never really know. But they didn't allow the community to carry on with updates themselves. I mean, a great place to look is Minecraft, and although they're not really similar games in total, they do have many updates and a big modding community, bringing out new mods and a lot of community-made content. And I'm not saying Reign of Kings would have been as big as Minecraft, but it would have lasted much longer if they let the community do that. It's still not 100% confirmed why the devs left, but soon after they abandoned the game completely, it is still on Steam to this day, available to purchase, although the game is completely dead, meaning that any unsuspecting newbies can still stumble across it, pay for an unplayable experience, and get screwed over. Yet after 3 abandoned games, it leaves the question, what now for codehatch? Reign of Kings was brilliant for the short time it was around, yet much like the other title in codehatch's arsenal, it was soon left and development stopped. So, was it all that surprising? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 3 times with a similar kind of game that was still abandoned all the same. Shame on me, I guess. After Starforge, Reign of Kings, and Heat, it looks like the community is no longer looking forward to what codehatch is coming up with. I doubt even if they do announce something in the near future, anyone will really be that interested, because that trust has been broken. They seem to be the developers that have a great idea, but never really follow through to the end. It might not just be down to their lack of drive or passion. It could be something as black and white as a lack of funding when it gets to the real nitty-gritty of actually creating a big and well-established game. But hey, for now, I guess you can still go play Heat. I think there's like 5 people on the servers. On that note, I will still be following Renown. It does look very promising, but I have seen in my recent videos that people are still skeptical. They mentioned Reign of Kings. They've made that correlation, and whilst Renown and the developers have nothing to do with the failure of Reign of Kings, there will always be that stigma around these open world medieval survivals now that Reign of Kings has put in and injected into the community. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens in time. But leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Leave a dislike if you didn't. Yet until then, I will see you in the next one. Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord's Napoleonic Wars mod is coming along so beautifully, and recently they've released a new developer blog along with some new gameplay and information at what we can expect for the future of this incredible modification. First of all, let's appreciate that artillery. Now, of course, artillery is a massive part of the Napoleonic Wars. In Mount & Blade Warband's Napoleonic Wars DLC, having an